Hello and welcome to another coding session. So today is Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Today is Monday. And as today, according to the schedule, we're doing web development and we continue development in Mode.jam. And Emote.jam is a simple website where you can upload sort of like emote or static image of an emote, right? And apply some different filters to it. it's jumping backwards. Yeah. And after you apply certain filters to it, you can render this entire thing and download the final GIF where you can upload it to BTTV or other third-party things. So it's completely open source. You can find the source code of this thing on GitHub. I'm going to put all of that into the description. So let's quickly do that, and today we're going to simply continue developing this thing because it's a Web Development Monday. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, so it's going to be Emote.jam, and I'm going to give you the link to the website, right? And Emote.jam source code. There we go, there we go. Here it is. So let's actually try to go to the source code of Emote.jam and let's fetch the latest stuff. So we have some changes in here, so I don't think they're needed. Let me try to fetch the latest stuff. I think, yeah, I think we're up to date. So if I try to do so, yeah, we're completely up to date. Okay, let me try to run this entire thing locally with the Python 3, HTTP server 6960. Well, I mean, I should have actually run it with asynchronous mode. And now if I open it locally here, it is locally. It doesn't really require any particular backend or any HTTP server per se, but because of the modern web development and course stuff, you kind of have to like serve it via an HTTP server. So yeah, you can actually upload any image in here, which is kind of funny. Right, so it can literally accept any image, even GIFs, but it doesn't really animate GIFs. This is something that I wanted to fix at some point, but apparently if you are uploading a GIF, right, so if you have an image element in a DOM and the src of that image element points to a GIF, right, apparently from a JavaScript you cannot that easily get the frames of that GIF. So what you have to do, you have to load the GIF file as a bytes and parse GIF format manually, and there are libraries that can do that for you, and it's just like really weird because obviously like you have a GIF in a browser, that means browser managed to parse that GIF and extract the frames and render the frames in a sequence over time, and it's just like something that you cannot have an access to from a JavaScript, and that seems to me completely insane, right? So you can have so much access from a JavaScript, right? But you can't have an access to such simple thing as frames of GIFs that browser already parsed for you. Maybe I'm missing something, but a quick Google up just show that no, it's not a thing that you can do. You have to like grab the bytes of the file and parse them manually. And it's just like, bruh. Seriously? I actually spit it all over the place because of that. Holy shit. So web development, am I right? So anyway, because of that, I'm not going to be working on that. So I want to work on something different today. So you see there are filters in here, and those filters are essentially hard-coded. For example, if you have this bounce thingy, you cannot control how high and how quickly the emote will bounce, but it would be cool if you could. Essentially, if you select a particular filter, it would just maybe show some sliders in here or some way to input the parameters of the like amplitude and frequency, and it would change like in real time, and you can like adjust it while looking at it, and then you could render it and it would be like exactly as you want. So, and because of that, by the way, maybe some of the filters will be completely eliminated because we have filter for hop, then hopper, which is slightly faster, and overheat, which is the fastest. So if you could just control the speed of hopping, like you could basically remove like hopper and overheat. You just won't need them at all, right? So yeah, if the filters were customizable, we could reduce the amount of filters. So, and that's precisely what I want to work on today. So right now the filters are defined as a JSON object, right? So here, for instance, a single filter, hop, it consists of what is going to be considered a transparent color, then the duration of the GIF, then the vertex shader, right? And then the fragment shader. And there we go. So what I want to implement in here, I want to introduce another field in here. Let's actually select a simpler filter to work with. I think the hard filter would be a little bit easier. Despite its name, I think it would be a little bit easier. So the hard filter is essentially takes the static image, it zooms it in a little bit and starts shaking it. Right, so yeah, that's basically what it is. And for this particular filter, I would like to customize how closer it's zoomed in or zoomed out, how quickly it shakes, and how violently basically the amplitude of shaking. So the shaking right now is just actually circular motion. It's a quick circular motion, and maybe it could be something more random, but I guess it's fine. And so these three parameters, I want them to be customizable, and they're pretty easy to integrate into the main shaders. So we're gonna work with the hard. All right, so we're gonna have something like params, and what kind of params do I want to have in here? I already have a zoom. There you go. So here are the parameters. Literally, here are the parameters: zoom, intensity, and amplitude. So let's quickly do that. Essentially, so we're gonna have a zoom, then intensity and amplitude. Right. So, and essentially, once you define those parameters in the params field, these things should be available as uniforms in your shader, right? Something like that, right? Just a second, 1, 2, 3, and a boom, boom, there we go. So, and then you will be able to completely get rid of them from the shader. So now, the user is in charge of those things, right? The user is in charge of those things. So, but again, different sort of parameters could have different types. And I suppose one of the things we want to do in here, we want to be able to specify, like define what's going to be the type of those parameters, right? So let me actually reformat everything. So I suppose this one is going to be something like type. And all of them are going to be floats. So I suppose we're going to support like the types of GLSL, right? So it could be a float, integer, maybe vectors. Who knows? That would be actually kind of cool. So, and how would you select a vector? It actually depends. Maybe it could be like a point on the emote, right? You maybe select like a fixed point of the emote, like some sort of a pivot if you are rotating, right? So you're making a rotation filter and you want to select a pivot, right? And that parameter could be actually displayed on the canvas itself. So you would actually see the point on the canvas and you would be able to drag it around, and then this point disappears when you like render the final thing. But right now we're not going to implement that. Right now we're going to only implement like simple things like floats. And another thing in the future we're going to implement is probably colors, right? You'll be able to customize the colors. And as far as I know, HTML5 has a color picker element. So yeah, we'll be able to utilize this kind of stuff. Is that a color? No, it's not really color picker. Yeah, so basically you take an input tag and you put a type of this tag as color and it becomes a color picker, essentially. So, but anyway, so those things are gonna be, are gonna have like type float. And I suppose one of the things you want to have for your filter is the default parameters, right? So what's going to be the default parameter of the stuff? So maybe it's going to be called either default or init. I think default is a little bit like more straightforward, I would say. So zoom is 1.4. Then for the intensity, we have 32, right? It's going to be 32. And for the amplitude, was going to be 1/8. But for now, I guess it's fine. But in the future, I want to do the following thing. I want to be able to actually export and import these filters as a JSON file. So basically, you may work on your filter in the website. We're gonna have tools for developing filters, and then at some point you wanna just basically export it, right? And then you wanna share it with somebody so they will be able to take your JSON file and basically import it into their EmoteJam website. So essentially, this is needed because this website doesn't have a backend, right? So it's completely client side, and because of that, we cannot store any of these things on the backend and easily share these things. So if we try to do that, the scope of the project will basically move towards something like more social, which I don't really want to involve into. So yeah, I just want to make a simple thing that can work in as many platforms as possible in 2021. Right, because in 2021, if you want a truly cross-platform application, you have to program that shitty in that modern interpreted language called JavaScript, right? So, and there's pretty much no way to escape that. So, yeah, and since I'm going to be exporting these things as files, right? So how do I express these kind of things? For example, some of the values wants to be expressions, right? Some of them wants to be expressions. I could probably just let them to be expressions, and then when I need to interpret them, I could use eval, but it feels like a security breach because anyone could craft a filter file with arbitrary like JSON execution. So if somebody takes their somebody's filter and upload it to their website, it may try to do things that the user may not want to do. So yeah. On the other hand, like what exactly they can do? Well, it depends on which domain this entire thing is deployed, right? So if it's deployed on some domain from which the JavaScript can steal some cookies and send somewhere because of some like faulty course policies, it could be a real problem. So one of the things I was thinking about is that maybe I can implement like a very simple you know, expression parser, right? So essentially, if you want to have an expression, you can just put something like this in here, and our simple expression parser will just parse it, make it an IST, interpret it, and calculate it. So yeah. But it's outside of the scope of what we're doing right now. So for now, we're gonna just keep it like that. We don't have exporting of JSON right now anyway, so I guess it's fine to just keep it like that. And I already do that. You see, duration is calculated like as an expression. Another interesting thing, by the way, I want to be able to calculate the expression in terms of these parameters as well. I want to be able to say something like the duration is going to be amplitude multiplied by pi plus something something. And it's quite important to be able to express durations as an expression because you need to make a duration so your emote loops seamlessly, right? So, and because of that, you need to use an expression because depending on the parameters, the actual duration to make it seamless might differ. If your intensity is very low, to make the emote loop, you need to have bigger time. If your intensity is small, if intensity is smaller, you need bigger time. If intensity is bigger, you need smaller time because it will just loop a little bit faster. So yeah, I'm actually basically thinking about implementing my own like simple language where you can put expressions like that. So I think it's not that hard to implement. I implemented programming languages before, it shouldn't be that difficult. Maybe we can even utilize WebAssembly in here. So essentially, maybe we're going to write a simple module in C or in Rust which accepts a string as an expression, and in a WebAssembly context, it basically parses the string and evaluates it for you very, very fast, and then the JavaScript can just take the result and put it there. That way, it's not only like sandboxed, but it's completely separated from the JavaScript context, because inside of the WebAssembly, you cannot do anything, right? So if you're gonna have some sort of like segmentation faults, usually WebAssembly runtime doesn't really do anything super dangerous. It just crashes the WebAssembly context. But yeah, it's just random thoughts that I have. It's just random thoughts that I have. Just a second. I think I want to pour a bottle of water. I forgot to do that before the stream, unfortunately. All right, let's continue. I've got my water, and what we need to do is just, I suppose, when we're compiling the filter, we just need to grab these parameters and turn them into UI elements. I think that's going to be cool. Cheers. So another thing I'm thinking about is that, do we want to have some sort of like titles in there, or can we use just the name of those things? I don't know. I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine to use the names. So here are the parameters. Do I need anything else in here? Title, probably not important right now. Maybe some ranges, available ranges. That could be interesting, especially if you're gonna define like a slider, right? Okay, can HTML5 do slider? HTML input slider. Is that a thing you can have? Range slider. So there is a range. All right. How does it look like? Is there like try it yourself? Okay, so there's this range, and yeah, okay, cool. So we can have ranges as well, but not for now. Let's actually try to do something. How do we compile or like load filter? Yeah, there we go. So there's a special function called load filter program. One of the things we can do in here is probably the following thing. Okay, so here are the uniforms, right? So we have a resolution, time, emote, size uniform. And I'm thinking is that maybe, just maybe, we need to put all of the uniforms under its own like umbrella, right? So it's going to be uniform, and all of the uniforms will go here, right? And because of that, maybe we don't even need to prefix the names of the uniforms with the word uniform, because we know for a fact that they are uniforms, right? We don't need to prefix anything here. So it's going to be just that. So it's going to be resolution, time, emote, size, and so on and so forth. So these are hard-coded uniforms, all right? How can we call them? I think we can call them something like built-in uniforms, right? So this is built-in uniforms, right? Built-in uniforms. And what I want to create here, I want to create the filter uniforms, right? So it's going to be filter uniforms. It's going to be something like this. And what I'm going to be doing in here, I'm going to be taking so param of filter params, right? So param filter params, maybe it's going to be something like param name in filter params, all right? And I'm going to be appending those parameters into the uniform, right? So how I'm going to be doing that? So it's going to be filter uniform param name is going to be equal to GL get uniform location ID param name. There we go. So now we have built-in uniforms and filter uniforms, and I want to somehow merge them together. And I wonder, how do you do that in JavaScript? JavaScript merge to objects. Let's find out. How to merge two objects in JavaScript? Is that a thing you can do? All right, we're off to the good start because you need a video to explain this kind of shit to you. ES16 introduced spread operator. Okay, so but what if the best solution in this case is to use low dash and it's okay, so it's a yet another unsolved problem of computer science along with centering elements or something. Web people. It's not that hard. How can I merge properties of two? All right. I guess I can just push them into like into the final uniform side. I don't fucking know. All right. Okay. I see. So this is going to be something like this: uniforms, uniforms, and I think I can keep it const because I'm not really reassigning it anyway. Right. And then it's going to be uniform. And that's pretty much it actually. So you have built-in uniforms and you have the filter uniforms, and because of that you don't really need to do anything in here. You just collected all of the uniforms. There we go. So I also thinking if param name is in uniforms, right, is in uniforms, we probably need to throw some sort of an error indicating that you're trying to redefine already existing parameters or already existing uniforms. So what's going to be the best way to do that? By the way, does in even work? I don't remember. I'm not a web developer, so I don't know. So if I have some sort of object like full 69, and if I do something like is full in here, okay, is this in here, okay, so it's not, so it's quite easy to check it like that. Throw new error, right? And what new error accepts? It accepts just a string. Okay. Redefinition of existing uniform parameter, and we're gonna assign param name. There we go. So that should never happen. So if something like that happens, that means you have a faulty filter. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now I want to try to run this entire thing and see if it compiles or not. Because right now I probably broke a lot of things. So let me actually find the hard filter, and I want to kind of remove this stuff for now and just keep it like this, because we don't really pass this sort of information to the uniforms yet. We don't pass it yet, but we will. So, and let's go to the localhost 69. Maybe I already have it open somewhere. So this is the remote one, and I need the local one. Okay, so it's broken as expected actually. So 938, and what is it talking about? Uniform is not defined because it's uniform C. Okay, uniform C. Do we have anything else? Okay, everything seems to be working, but it's not moving anywhere, which is kind of interesting, and it's not broken at all. It doesn't even throw any error. How am I supposed to debug anything if it just silently doesn't work? Oh, nice one, JavaScript. Thank you very much. So I kind of know what's going on in here, right? So I probably have to search for GL uniform, yeah, for this one, right? And essentially, is that the only two places where we set GL uniform? Let me find all of them. Okay, so we set time and resolution uniform, and in here, so this is the rendering loop, emote size uniform. Surprisingly, we don't really set, we don't really set emote size. Okay. Okay, so which is incorrect, which actually will introduce a bug during rendering of the GIF. Okay, so that's very interesting. GL uniform, uniform. Okay, so here is that. So emote size, and do we even have emote image when we're rendering this entire thing? I think we do. So this is just a render. All right, all right, all right. And this one has to be something like this. So we're gonna do uniforms, and also it's gonna be something like this. There we go. So yeah, uniform time, we set the time, uniform resolution, uniform emote size, and we set everything accordingly. So let's try to find the other uniforms in here now. Okay. All right. All right, all right, all right, all right. So this is gonna be something like this, and this is gonna be something like that. There we go. So that should now work, and I think it is working. I think it is working. So if I try to switch to different things now, I'm switching to different filters, and specifically I want to take a look at heart. There we go. It seems to be working. If I render this entire thing, cannot read property time of undefined. Interesting. So let's go to 1127, and that's very strange. Why it doesn't have any time, even though we do have time when we're previewing this entire thing. So program uniforms. Okay, so that means it's called differently. Wait, what? Am I going crazy? I am actually. I forgot to put S in here. Oh boy. All right. So cannot read property of time undefined. Oh, JavaScript. Okay, so all right. It's going. We're going places. Nice. Cool. But Zazen, why are you not using TypeScript? TypeScript. Okay. So we extracted we basically grouped the uniforms into this single field, which will make it easier to add like more additional uniforms, which is kind of cool. You know what I want to try to do? When I'm switching the filter, right? So we have a filter selector, right? And in the filter selector, we have, I don't remember, like, where is the select filter event? Right. So maybe update. Yeah, here we go. So when you select a new filter, I want to actually print something like program uniforms, right? Just to see what kind of uniforms we have in there. And I just want to see that hard adds more uniforms in there, right? Does hard add more uniforms? Every time we select something, right, here is the uniforms, resolution, emote size, and time. So some of them don't use resolution and size, and that's fine. But some of them will, right? So here's the heart, and in here we just don't have anything. Okay, that's cool. I really like that. I really like that we didn't add anything in there, even though I specified in hard, please add something there. Cool. So let's go back to hard, and what do we have in here? We have params, right? And I think I'm iterating through the params of the filter, don't I? So I do filter params. So here they are. If params is in uniform already, if it's already in the uniforms, we don't do anything. So maybe we can just do something like console log param name, right? And will it add anything in there? Let's find out. So it's going to be hard. Okay, zoom, intensity, and amplitude. And they're not there. They're just not there. Is this because of this thing? Okay. This is sus. I'm adding this stuff in. No, it's totally fine. Okay, so console log uniforms, right? Uniforms is going to be console log. What am I missing? What the hell? If it doesn't exist in there, well, I mean, yeah, so in this case it's fine. If I pick the hard, here they are. Here they are. Am I going crazy? I think I am. Console. Of course. I'm printing the uniforms before I loaded the program. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Everything's fine. Okay? Everything's fine. Oh my god. Alright. So, yeah, so we have that and we have that. If I do something like this, in the hop, here is the stuff. And in the hard, we have additional uniforms in here. So, but we only use time uniforms, so there's nothing much to say in here. Okay, fine, cool. So the next thing I want to do, when we're loading the filter program, I also want to be able to construct like a UI elements for each and individual parameter in there, right? So maybe it's going to be something like, you know, params panel. Yeah, this is what it's going to be. So it's going to be params panel, and this thing is going to be just a div, right? And it's going to be a div into which we're going to be appending the like more and more elements. Okay, so in here I probably want to do something like switch case. So I'm going to switch upon the uniforms, actually filter param name, right? Param name, and I'm going to be looking at the type of this entire thing. And if the type is float, right? If the type is float, we're going to be constructing a new element to update floats, something like, I don't know, range and whatnot, and we're going to be appending it into the parameter panel, something like this. It's going to be params panel, and it's going to be just append child, and we're appending another div, yet another div, and within that div we're going to have something probably like span with the text of the parameter name. So it's going to be param name. There we go. And then we're probably going to have some sort of an input, right? So maybe I also want to wrap this entire thing like that, right? And put like a space and colon in there, right? And then we're going to have an input, right? I think our framework has inputs. Yeah, you can provide the input, and the input is going to be of the type range, right? So how do you do with how do you work with ranges? Input slider. Range sliders. So you can set min and max, and you can set a value. You also have to specify the class. Classes just like for CSS stuff. And you can also specify ID, but we don't need ID. All right, so it's going to be type range, and we're going to set its attribute to be of the filter params param name. Default, right? Default is already taken. Shit. Let's actually rename it to init. What does default keyword mean in JavaScript? Default keyword. What does it even mean in there? Reasons behind the default keyword. It's ES6. So what's that? Because you can export many variables from the... okay, so I see. I forgot about it. So let's actually rename default to init, right? So it's going to be initial value. Load filter, there we go. And this is going to be just init. Okay, so what's going to be min and max range? That's a good question. That's a good question. Can probably specify min and max, but that means I'll have to go to these filters and something like min and zoom, I suppose. I guess zoom, can you not specify? Let's not specify them for now. I don't really want to think about it too much right now. It could be specified later. So I'm assigning a value, and that is pretty much it. So if we encounter any other type, we should throw an error saying that, well, we don't know this kind of type. Filter parameters. Parameters do not support type. They do not support this type, essentially. So interestingly enough, maybe we should specify the name of the filter, but to be fair, we don't know the name of the filter because filter itself does not store its own name. But this is something that could be fixed later. Okay, so here is the params panel, and we're gonna actually store it in here. So params panel, params panel, and let's just assign it in here. Params panel. There we go. Here's the params panel, and now every time you select a new filter, we have to substitute that params panel in there. I wonder how we can even do that. That's actually very interesting. Also, another interesting thing, if you don't have params in here, we should ignore them completely. But maybe it's going to happen automatically, right? If you try to iterate undefined in here, it's just going to sadly not work because I don't remember seeing any errors in there. All right, so let me take a look. All right, so yeah, seems fine. Seems fine, I didn't see any errors. So, okay, this one is interesting. Fail to execute set attribute on element is not a valid value. So I probably fucked up something big time. Is that because really you cannot set value to an element, HTTP input element? So sliders do not support floating points. Okay, that's very interesting. So HTML5 range slider floating point. Is it even possible to have something like that? Range slider floating point. The value is set to something which can be converted into floating point number. Validation fails because the input. Okay. If the value is set to something which can't be converted into a valid floating point number, validation fails because the input is suffering from the bad. Okay. All right, makes sense to me. There's also step. It can be floating point, but why it wasn't a floating point? Is not a valid attribute name. Ah, attribute name. It's not a. Okay, I see. So let me load filter program. Load filter program. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what do we have in here? If I do something like hard, it seems to be working. Okay. Console log. Let's remove this logging. We don't need it anymore. Now, load filter program. Filter program. There we go. This is where we load all that. And here is an interesting thing. So as we load the program, right? As we load the program, we need to take the program's params panel, right? We need to take its params panel, and we need to embed it somewhere down below, I would say. Right, so, okay, we have a root, and in the root, we have filter and filter list, right? So here's the filter list. This is where it is created, right? Maybe it would make sense to actually put it like that, and the attribute is going to be like down below. Then we have a filter preview, right? So here's the preview. And maybe another thing we want to have in here is something like div params, right? And if I refresh this entire thing, now we have params in here, but they're not particularly centered well. This is because we don't have a class set to them equal to widget element, right? Widget element, because it's done in a CSS. There we go. So you have filter, and here you're going to have parameters of that filter. And we're going to embed parameters of that filter, I guess, into the root. I guess that's going to be the easiest way to do that. So we're just going to be appending that stuff in there. So you created the program, then you take the root and you append child program, params panel, right? So it's going to be params panel. There we go. So, and next time, if you're loading something, right, is it possible to remove a child from a particular node? JavaScript remove child. Yeah, there's literally remove child. Perfect. That's precisely what I wanted to have in here. So that means before loading the program, we're going to be doing a root remove child program params panel. Right, there we go. Then we're loading a new program. We're loading a completely new program, and we're appending append child, a completely new panel in here, in there. So it's going to be params panel. There we go. And let's take a look if it works or not. Okay, so none of these filters have any parameters, any custom parameters, but hard does have parameters, and here they are. Yes. So essentially, if your filter defines additional parameters, they're going to be displayed here automatically, and you will be able to control them. And different filters are going to have different parameters defined for them. This is precisely what I'm trying to implement in here. And they're automatically generated. So for example, you can put something like your mom, right? And by default, we only have type float, right? So you can only have type float. And and your mom is going to be initially something like over 9,000, right? So that's going to be the value of your mom. And if I go to harden here, there we go, here's your mom, the biggest value in the parameter list. But we also have to probably, I don't know, we can always put params panel, right? It's going to be attribute set class to widget element, right? It's going to be to widget element. All right, so and if I take a look at the harden here, I cannot see it. Am I blind? Yes, I'm blind. Okay, so there we go. So essentially, depending on what you selected here, we're going to have like different parameters, and some of them don't have any parameters in here yet, but as we have this mechanism, we're going to be adding those parameters anyway. All right, that's actually pretty cool. I'm super excited. So, and then at any point, right, you can remove the parameter in here, right, and there we go. We don't have those things anymore. Cool. This is nice. I love that. I really, really like that. I wonder if there's like a way to display the actual value in here. I think there should be a way to display a value. How are we going to be doing that? We can try to wire it up. Load filter program, blah, blah, blah. So here's the span. So what's the best way to, where is the best way to put the value? So try it yourself. Custom range slider. Maybe we can put that after this entire thing, if you know what I mean. So it could be something like span, and that span is going to have like some sort of initial value. I don't know, filter params, param name, init, right, and this is going to be the value, right, and if I go to here, it's broken because the thing is not a string, right? Yeah, it has to be either not or a string. How can I convert a thing to a string? JavaScript to string. Yeah, there is such thing as toString. Beautiful. ToString. And if I go hard, everything seems to be okay. Here are the values, so we can just keep the values somewhere here. But we also need to update them every time the slider updates, right? So we need to update them every time the slider updates. Okay, so let's create something like value preview. So here's the value preview, and let's move it somewhere there. Value preview, and let's put it like that. There we go. So now we have input range, and for the input range, we'll probably also need to set up the event listeners of some sort. I suppose it could be something like changed on, so HTTP HTML input slider on change. Can I just do on change for this thing? Is not triggering in Firefox something. Apparently our wrong on change should only be triggered when the user releases the mouse. You should use an input which will capture live updates in Firefox Safari. Okay, let's actually use an input then. So so value preview, the value input, let's call this thing a value input, and we're gonna put it like this here. There we go. So value input. All right. So when the value input is going to be on input, so let's actually do it like this. I'm going to just simply print this entire thing, console log e, and we'll see what we have in there and how we're going to be updating this entire stuff. Oh boy, where is my soy? So hard, we're going hard. Okay, so here are live updates, and I suppose we have, where do we have a value? So there's a target. I guess one of the things we can do in here is essentially, if we're going to be using like function, so this is going to be set to the element itself, right? And maybe because of that, we'll be able to do something like how to set inner HTML, inner text. JavaScript set inner text or something. How to set the inner text? Inner text, there is such thing. Okay, inner text is going to be set to value, maybe to this value. There we go. So is this even possible in here? Yeah, this is not how we do that. Okay, so let's go hard, and okay, nothing is happening at all. I'm super happy. This is so cool. I wonder why it doesn't even fail. That's what's interesting about it. So it doesn't even fail, even though we capture the things, but it's just it's not this. Value preview. Oh my god, I see. Alrighty. Okay, is it gonna work now? Is it gonna work now, yo? Okay. Yes. Look at that. Look at that. So there's intensity, there's amplitude, and we're capable of updating all of these things live. Oh my god! Oh my god! That is so cool. That is so goddamn fucking cool, mate. Nice. So we also need a way to capture those things somehow, if you know what I mean. So maybe we're gonna add some sort of a method to the panel, right? Some sort of a method to the panel. We also need to be able to sort of react to the updates of the params panel, if you know what I mean. I think we're gonna just throw an event. We're gonna throw an event saying that uniforms have updated, and we're gonna gather the values of each and well, to be fair, we can basically only provide the name of the uniform that has updated and its value. So then you can actually update only the uniforms that you care about. Sounds like a plan, actually. Sounds like a plan. I really like that. So essentially, let me find the way we dispatch events. So dispatch event is going to be a custom event, and in here, right, every time we update something, we're going to be dispatching event, but we're going to be dispatching the event via the params panel, right? So it's going to be params panel. So here's the params panel. Uniform changed, right? Uniform changed, and the detail is going to be name. The name is going to be something like param name, and then the value is going to be this value, I suppose. Yeah, there we go. So that's how it's going to be done. So, and then when you take params panel, you're essentially going to subscribe to this update, right? You're going to subscribe to this update, and that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Okay. I think I want to make a small break and make a cup of tea. And after the break, we're going to wire up the updates from the panel into the uniforms, so you would be able to actually use these parameters in the shader and customize these like parameters live. That would be so goddamn cool, actually. Yeah. Imagine you select a filter, you adjust some of the parameters in here, and it just fucking works. That would be so fucking sick. My god. Anyway, let's make a small break. Here's the funny bug. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the hard filter after some time starts to go absolutely fucking crazy. Yeah, instead of like giving like a circular motion, it's just like starts shaking violently. And I don't know what causes that. I actually reported that, but I still don't know what is going on. Probably, maybe we're using like a global timer that goes from 0 to like infinity, and maybe at some point it just goes over like a safe value of integer. So basically in JavaScript there's a notion of unsafe values of integers. Script unsafe number or something. Save integers. Oh, save integer. Well, we're not using integers though. We're using floats for representing values. But anyway, so the thing is, after a certain value, it cannot be easily represented with IEEE 754 because JavaScript uses, floating points for everything. And because of that, it's unsafe. So some of the math laws start to get broken or something like that. Maybe it's somehow related to that. But again, I'm not a web developer. I don't know any of the shit. So whatever. I have an issue for that. I'm going to solve it as I get to it. Hard. Yeah, so if you leave hard filter for too long, the timing starts to act strangely, right? And here is basically what's going on. It's just leave it for a while and it just goes like that. So one of the things probably would be, instead of like having a global timer that goes from 0 to infinity, basically let it loop around duration, from 0 up until duration, and then back to 0 in duration, because that's where it's supposed to loop. Right. Makes sense, I suppose. Anyways, so here we are dispatching things that have changed in the panel, in the params panel. Let's try to wire them up into the filter preview, right? So let's see what's going to happen. So yeah, this is basically how we do all of that. We're appending child, but on top of that, I think I want to go through all of the uniforms and set their default values. If that makes any sense, that makes any sense. I guess it does. So I'm going to be iterating through param name in, is it filter is? I'm going to sneeze, by the way, just a second. All right, thank you so much. So here's the selected filter, and then we are compiling that selected filter, and that's pretty much it. But it does not allow us to know what are the parameters, which is kind of sad. So I still need to be able to separate the built-in uniforms and param uniforms. I still need to be able to separate them, because once this thing compiled, I probably want to iterate only through the user parameters and set their initial default values. That's what I probably want to do. Another thing here would be probably give params panel a special method that would give you the snapshot of all of the parameters. I guess that's a good solution, right? So in the params panel, you just call this thing, and this is a snapshot of parameters. You have the uniform of that parameter, and you have the value of that parameter. And that will be actually kind of cool, because we're not removing params panels per se, even though we probably should. But I mean, we're just removing them from the system, so hopefully garbage collector will collect them at some point, but we'll see. So they are recreated every time, so they are recreated all the time. But maybe this is something that we shouldn't do. Maybe we should actually pre-compile all of the filters, and when you switch the filter, we just switch the program and switch panels and stuff. Okay, so this is actually a pretty good idea, but it will take too much time for today's stream. But I'm gonna create like a separate issue for that. Preload all of the filters, right? Preload all of the filters. It could be also done lazily, to be fair, right? It doesn't necessarily has to be preloading. We could just load them as you try to access them, but we don't unload them if you switch to a different one. So that way we could quite easily just, you know, switch the program and switch the panel, and because of that the panel will preserve its state, and that's going to be pretty convenient, right? So yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that. Preload all of the filters and switch between, and just switch between them without loading and unloading them constantly, right? So this is going to be a to-do that we want to put in here. So where are we going to put a parameter in there? Where are we going to put the parameter? So if I'm going to have a parameter, I want to have an access to the value inputs in here, right? I want to have an access to the value inputs. Oh boy. So let's actually put it like this. So it's going to be something like params inputs, and it's going to be this thing, right? As we create a new value input, right, we're going to be doing params inputs, param name equal value input. There we go. That way, after we initialized everything, we'll still have an access to the params input, right? We still have an access to the params input, and we can quite easily just query all of this jazz. All right, so after that, params panel is going to have something like params snapshot, right? So it's going to be a special function, right, that will return you the params snapshot. Snapshot is going to be the object, right? And what we're going to be doing in here, we're going to be iterating for param name in params inputs, right? And the snapshot is going to be param name equal params inputs param name, and this thing has a value, right? So value input, yeah, so it's gonna be a value. There we go, like this, and then we just return the snapshot. I'm pretty sure it could be done in a more functional way, mapping values and whatnot. I wonder how to do that. JavaScript object map values. Is that a thing you can do? Object entries. All right. So we can get an entries and okay, whatever. So here is the params snapshot, and every time something changes, you get the parameter, you get the value, and some other stuff. And I'm thinking maybe it makes sense to always get the full snapshot just in case. But maybe not. I don't know. So we can probably do it like this: uniform changed, and then you could get the params snapshot and just iterate over them and reset all of them. I think it's going to be easier to work with, right? In any situation, you just take the param snapshot and you just get it. Though. It would be better to actually split them slightly, right? So this one is going to be simply a value, right? This one is going to be simply a value, and you also want to have a uniform, right? So uniform. You also want to have a uniform. So, and uniform, how do we get the uniform? Oh boy. So we have a param name, and we already have uniforms. So uniforms are in here, so that means, yeah, okay. Uniforms param name, and that's it. So because of that, it would probably make sense to actually put that method after, right? Because this is where is all of that is going to be available, right? Also, another interesting thing, so this is the params input, right? This is the params input, and this is the value input. And what are the places we're using it in? It would be better to refer to this entire thing like that, but param name is too long. I'm gonna leave it as it is right now, it doesn't really matter. So here's a snapshot. And everything is good so far, at least. Everything is good so far. So let me actually try to restart this entire thing and see if I didn't break anything significant. And let's go hard. And no, I didn't break anything so far. That's cool. That is very, very cool. Filter selector. There we go. We have a filter selector. Panels, params panel, right? So we append the child. And one of the things we probably want to do is program params panel, and we're going to add event listener to param something updated, right? Param changed. I already forgot. I already forgot what it was called. Uniform changed. Okay, let's actually call it something like params changed. Params changed, because it's not about the uniform changed. Yeah. Params panel, add event params changed, and when something has changed, right, what we're going to be doing in here, we're going to be updating the uniforms essentially, right? We're going to be updating the uniforms. So we need to go through the snapshot. Let's actually capture the snapshot. So it's going to be this params snapshot. Right, there we go. And then for param name in snapshot, right? What we're doing is GL uniform 1f. So and the param name snapshot param name. Snapshot param name uniform will be equal to this thing but value. There we go. So this is how we're going to be updating all of that. Interestingly enough is that we also need to call it after we set everything up as well. So is it possible? So this is this. So let's create a function like this, and instead of this one is going to be basically params program params panel, and the function should be called something like update params, I guess. Maybe sync params. Okay, so let's actually call it sync params. Right, we take that and there we go. So, and the event listeners is going to be basically sync params, right? If this thing is updated, you just do that. All right, that's cool. So we have that. It takes the program, it takes the current params panel, takes the snapshot, iterates over all of that, and yeah, everyone is happy. So then we add it to the event listener, and so on and so forth. So what I'm thinking is that when it is time to remove the program, right? So we delete the program, we remove the panel from that thing. We also need to remove the event listener. Okay, JavaScript remove event listener. It's literally called remove an event listener. Do you have to provide anything else except the name? And you provide the listener function. Okay, so I do have the function. So we remove the child and program params panel, remove event listener, and the event listener is basically sync params. There we go. And then we have to attach this entire thing to a new one. We need to attach it to a new one. So we already kind of established very interesting convention. So we have a process of loading the program and attaching the program to the filter listener. And then when we're loading, we're detaching it. So we need to formalize this kind of thing, I think. Okay. So we append the child and we're also here doing this thing. All right. So, and I would say, you load the filter. So this could be something like this. Let me actually set it to undefined program like this. So in this chunk of code already repeats this one essentially. So this one is a program, and to be fair, this one could be under this thing. There we go. So this is detaching the program. This is attaching the program. Makes sense to me. Yeah, makes sense to me. So this definitely could be formalized at some point. And also it should be only done if the program is, available. It's quite important. Okay, cool. So that should be it. And every time something is updated, we are updating the uniforms. All right, I'm super happy about all of that. Let's see what's going to happen. Did it break? I don't think it broke. Let's switch to hard, and something already broke. Listener. Okay, listener. Listener. All right, one more time. Hard, and it seems to be working. Now let's try to update any. Okay, uniform is not defined. Nice. 970. Uniform, really. Uniform C, yet again, making the same mistakes over and over again. Can I blame JavaScript for that? I guess. Okay. Nothing is changing. Nothing is changing. And you know why? Because in a shader, we do not accept these uniforms. Yes, we wired everything up, but in a shader, we do not accept anything. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Let's find the hard filter. Right, so here's the hard filter. And so here, what we have to do, we have to get rid of this shit, right? And we have to enable this shit. There we go. So now these parameters became the uniforms, and the values of the uniforms are passed through the UI. All right. And what do we have in here? Hopefully it will work now. And it doesn't even display anything. Okay. Oh shit, it is working. Oh fuck, it is working. Holy shit, this is so cool. I like that. Okay, and amplitude went over the roof. Oh yeah, okay. So we definitely need to set up the ranges, allowed ranges, because these ranges are kind of big. I think it's too much for this. This is cool. I can control that. Finally I can control that. This is so cool. Oh my god, I love it. I fucking love it. Okay, so we need to set up the ranges, and also we need to fix the problem of the first initialization of the uniforms, because once you switch to hard, by default nothing is set properly. So I suppose you have to, yeah, like why is it not set? Didn't I call sync params? Well, yeah, I didn't. Okay, so basically as we established everything, we need to call sync params at least once. Okay, that makes sense. All right, just to sync the parameters. All right, that makes sense. And if I switch to hard, it didn't do shit. Thank you so much. Why didn't do shit? Is it because of the cache? No, it is not because of that. I wonder why. But it does sync the parameters, right? You know what I'm talking about? It does sync the parameters. So you load the filter, you do this shit. So maybe we need to do it like that. I mean, it's not going to change anything, but I think it makes sense to do it like this. Oh wait, well, we have to do it like this. All right. Oh, it could be true actually. It is true. Look, if I swap them like that, it still works. The fuck? Okay, that makes sense. I think I have to do that in here. So if I swap it like this, still works. No, why? Okay. Goddamn JavaScript. Anyway, so we can have this shit. I'm super happy about it. I'm in fact super happy about it. And here I can control things. I can zoom in, zoom out. And the question is, how can we set up the ranges? I suppose we can provide the ranges in the filter itself, right? So let's actually go in there. Before I do that, I think it's actually worth doing the commit. So let me go to index.js, hard, there we go. And in here, I'm going to be removing this stuff. So this is now a bunch of uniforms and stuff like that. And essentially what I want to do in here, so the zoom is going to be like mean value is going to be 1, and the max value, maybe the max value is not going to be set up, right? Like whatever, you use whatever value you want. But you're not going to be able to go like below this thing. So intensity, I don't really know what is intensity in this particular case. Let me take a look. So intensity is multiplied by time. All right. So maybe we can set it to something like, so in the amplitude is something very small. Let's put min to, I suppose, 0, and I don't know, max could be 100, right? So it could be 100. We could probably also set up this step. Yeah, it makes sense. I think step here is actually quite important because you want to have a fine control over the zoom, but intensity, I think step 1 is totally fine, right? So it's going to be step like 1. So I'm not sure about amplitude, but that's the things we need to have in here. Load filter program. So here are the parameters. Okay, so here is the value input, and we can set some parameters in here. So it's going to be attribute min, and it's going to be filter params param name, and this is going to be just min, right? So then we're going to have max and step, max and step. There we go. Cool. And value is basically an init. Maybe for the consistency we need to rename init to value. So you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I didn't want to do that, but okay. Let me find another init in here. Shit. Yeah. Redefinition. There we go. So this is a value now. So maybe at some point we're gonna, well, I mean, it depends. There can be different kinds. But now we can control these things. And we can control these things. Hard. Okay. All right. Let me see. What we got. So here's the hard, and it's at 1.4. And the step is going crazy, by the way. So intensity is 0. I don't know why, excuse me. I don't really know why. So max should be default in here, 100. But it's kind of strange. Well, I mean, why step is not working? Step should work. All right, HTML5 input slider step. What are the possible things in there? So yeah, min, max, and step and shit like that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So size 10, min, step. That's precisely what I'm fucking talking about. Come on, man. But if they're undefined, and if I set undefined in one of the things, nothing should happen. Is it cache problem yet again or something? I don't know, man. Come on. All right. It just doesn't want to do that. Load filter program. Here is the step, and so we have a param. I'm missing something very obvious. Console log filter params. Let's start debugging this shit. right, so what do we got in here? Hard. That was strange. Intensity, yeah. Zoom. Oh. Params. So maybe I could take a look at one of these things. Okay, I didn't think about looking into them actually. Range, value, mean, max. Is that because of that? Is it really because of that? I can try to slightly change it, of course. So let's do the following thing. If this thing defined, right, I can just do it like that. It's going to be value input. Yeah, I can just do it like that, sure. If this thing value input, if this thing defined, we're gonna set this value input if this thing value input. There we go. All right, are you gonna work now, please? Nope. Well, it could be because I guess 69 is a reasonable upper limit. Let's set it to that. So this one is going to be something like max 6 and 9, and step should be all right. All right, now it makes sense. So the reason why it was so intense is because the upper limit was so huge. Okay, that makes sense to me finally. And this. And that becomes like very, very much. To be fair, it's already kind of crazy around 42. So maybe 42 is going to be the maximum here. So intensity max 42, right? And so this is the maximum, and then this is the minimum. Minimum is 0, I guess, and I don't understand why zoom of 1 was not set properly, and amplitude. Yeah, amplitude should be actually super small. So the amplitude value, this one could be actually maximum, I think. Maybe not. So let's set minimum to 0. Right, this is minimum to 0. Maximum to 1/8. Right, 1/8. And the step is going to be around maybe 0.1. Yeah. Because for the amplitude it does make sense. All right. So this is going to be hard, and we can, yeah. So back to like literally 0. Maybe for that one, step could be like thousands. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a good idea generally, but. Okay, I don't like that the UI jumping around, but this could be fixed at some point. And the zoom is completely fucked up. The zoom is completely fucked up. Yeah. So the max could be actually 4. Let's make 4 and see if it's gonna be nice. What about 2? Yeah, I guess it's fine. Then you can adjust it to 125. 125. Then intensity you can lower down. And zoom, you can control the zoom as much as you want. I'm not quite understanding why the fuck the default parameters don't really work properly. So the default value for the zoom is supposed to be 1.4, but when I switch to this thing, it is not correct. So this 1.4 by default is just not. And I wonder what the hell is going on in here. So load filter program, we're setting the parameters in here. We don't care about that. Filter selector, and we're syncing parameters in here. We're syncing them in there. What I'm thinking is that we can try to print the snapshot just in case, just to see what the hell is going on in there, right? Just because that's kind of weird. I'm gonna lie, snapshot. There we go. All right, so here we have everything synchronized, and I switch to hard, and let's take a look at its zoom. Zoom is set to 1. Why the hell it is set to 1? Well, that is really fucking weird. All right, let me see. Load filter program. So here is the value, and we set in that value. It's the value of this thing. But the value of the zoom is 1.4. It is in fact 1.4, but it is failing to get that value. So zoom is alright, intensity is alright, amplitude is alright, but specifically zoom is fucked. Specifically zoom is fucked. I wonder why. So if I take a look at this thing, so is that? Sync params. Sync params. So we're syncing the params. We're syncing them here again. All right, let's make a small break. All right, so shit doesn't work. Why? I have no idea. So the problem here is that when we are initializing hard for the first time, right, its actual zoom in here, its actual zoom is equal to 1, but in reality this is equal to 1.4, and I have no idea why it doesn't work, so we have to sort of like increase it. But interestingly enough, let me try to do that. It felt really weird. So it's going to be hard. It is set to 0, but this thing set is 1.4. So the actual slider is set to 0, to 1, to its minimum value. But this thing is set to 1.4. This is so weird. Like, what the hell? Excuse me. Load filter program. Okay, so what is going on in here? As we iterating through each of the parameters, right, we check the parameters are uniforms, blah, blah, blah. We take a look at the types, right? We're constructing, well, this is a preview. So I take the value and I assign it to the preview. All right, that makes sense. And then I take the value input and I set the value to this thing. Only if the value is provided, but if it's not provided, it's probably going to be set to the original value. So it feels like it's just not, it doesn't have a value. Right. So can we take a look at the console? Log something like param name, right? Param name equal to the value in here, right? Actually, we should probably do something like this, right? So it's gonna be something like value. So what is going on here? It is really, really weird. All right. So I'm switching to the hard, and well, interestingly enough, zoom does have a value. It does have a value, so if I put it in here, right, if I put it in here, it should actually trigger. All right, so zoom does in fact have a value, and we can clearly see that. We can clearly see that. But when I try to set that value to the value input attribute, it's not getting set. Why? That is so weird. All right, so when we're updating these things, we're also updating inner text to the value and whatnot. So it's almost like it ignores this thing. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Okay, let's go back to hard. Let's go back to hard, and zoom value is set appropriately. I'm so goddamn confused. Alright, so we're adding this thing into the params like this. So params input, and then in the params input, we take the params input stuff. Just like, why? All right, so what if I do something very stupid? Okay, I'm gonna just put it in here, right? Let's just put it in here, and no, it didn't work. It didn't set the value properly. It set it for everyone else, but except the zoom. Except the zoom. So what if I set this thing like this? So if param name, let's just set all of them to 69. Forcefully, let's just set all of them to 69. Am I really gonna spend my entire time doing that? Okay, so it set everything appropriately, but I don't think it was 69. This is so painful. This is such a dumb problem. It is so dumb. Ooh, boy. Is that a browser thing? Let me try to do that in a Firefox. Like, I don't see what could be the problem. Like, the problem is extremely weird. Like, it's only that specific value and nothing else. Like, why nothing else but specifically zoom? Okay. Yeah, but if I start to update this thing, now it's working, but not for the intensity. Intensity and everything else is just set properly. So let me try to open that in the Firefox, because that's insane. I don't understand. I'm wasting too much time on this stupid bug. It shouldn't be a thing. Wasting time on this kind of stuff shouldn't be a thing, in my opinion. All right. So if I go to hard, it is the same thing in here. It is the same thing. Okay, so maybe it's not a browser thing. Maybe it's just specifically me doing something wrong. But maybe setting the value is not like the way you do that. Load filter program. Value set up. You set a value of the value input attribute. I wanna die. So dumb. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Holy fuck. Okay, so what if we don't do this kind of stuff? Okay, so we're gonna let these things to be undefined. Right. I hate it. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is dumb. Oh, right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And the actual value... min, max, step. Okay, so maybe if we go back to value being called init, is there some sort of a collision going on because of that? I remember, okay, so we initially called it init. Now let me try to find the value, right? And now it's going to be called init. Let's just call it init, because I remember it worked with init. But what happened? What the hell is going on? Seriously. It's just fucking crazy. ToString is undefined. Okay, so ToString for the init. Sure. Okay. What if I also do ToString in here? Okay. Input slider JavaScript set value. What if I have to set the value directly? And completely broke. And value is not set to anything. Look at that. Value is just not set to anything. My range value. Wait a second, really? Object value, object my range. I swear to God, if this thing all of a sudden will just start working because there's something with the cache yet again. Holy fucking shit. Alright, so do I have cache disabled for the network? Yeah, disable cache, it is disabled or something. Because sometimes it still doesn't work. Yeah. Value input, even though it is set to value is 1.4. It's almost like it ignores it. Is it not value? What is it then? Am I working with this thing incorrectly? Oh my god, I hate it. HTML input slider. Just show me, like, what am I missing? Is that the not value? What is it? What is it? Why are you reloading? Value 90. Okay, so it's a value. It is in fact value. Like, what's wrong? Why is it not setting it? Like, it's setting that value perfectly fine for the preview, but it's not setting it like when it needs to be set in here. What is going on? Like, holy fucking shit. It's setting it for the rest of the values though, and it's successful, but specifically for that thing, it just does not set them. It just doesn't want to do that. And it's all in both of the browsers, so that means I'm doing something wrong. And I don't know, like, it's just driving me crazy. All right, so I don't know, like, what is it? There's no error or anything like that. It's just like, it's working. This motherfucker working. Okay. If I put this thing in here, it is not working. You see, there are paddings in there. But if I put it in here, it is working. I know what is going on. Holy fucking shit. This is so dumb. This is... I'm gonna explain what's going on. Okay. Oh my god. I'm sorry for people who do web development professionally every fucking day. I'm really sorry for you guys. Like, holy fucking shit. Okay, so essentially, the default min and max in slider is 1 and 100, and the default step is 1. If you set the value before you established these things, they're going to be evaluated in terms of between 1 and 100, but Zoom, some of the values especially could be actually below this range, right? They could be actually below this range, and when you apply these limitations, it probably snaps them to whatever makes sense. So first you need to establish the min, max, and step, and only then set a value, because the value may not make sense in the context of default min, max, step. This is the best explanation I can come up with why reordering this shit will work. Okay, so maybe I'm just dumb, right? I should know this kind of thing. I should have read shit ton of books before going into web development. Okay. But why browser didn't even throw any warnings about that, right? So why does this development environment makes the life of the developer so goddamn fucking miserable by default? Right, so essentially it could have thrown a warning saying like yeah, your value got snapped because min max got updated. You could have at least said something, because it's not that difficult to detect from the side of the browser. You know what I'm talking about? It's not that difficult to detect inside of the browser, and just to warn the programmer, like, bruh, you did a oopsie doopsie, like something's wrong, right? Your value was that, but then it got snapped because min max changed. And we don't really change min max that often, right? For that to be very spammy in the console, if you know what I'm talking about. I guess I have nothing much to say, to be fair. I have nothing much to say. I guess whatever I say is not really convincing if you have a Stockholm syndrome, but I don't know. So we now have this kind of shit, and we can set up the intensity. I don't really like that intensity just like jumps around and not particularly smooth, but I suppose this is more of a problem of the shader, right? So it's going to be the responsibility of the shader developer to to do this kind of stuff, right? So in here we're going to zoom in a little bit, and the amplitude, yeah, the amplitude could be just 0. And yeah, if you set this all to min parameters, it's going to be like that. Amplitude is just going to be offset, right? It's an offset. Then intensity is how quickly it rotates, right? How quickly it rotates, and zoom is how close it is. Right, makes sense to me. So, and all of that is pretty much customizable. All of that is pretty much customizable. Intensity was by default 32, I suppose. Amplitude was 125 as far as I know. All right, 125. Right, and you can define yourself whatever you mean. And zoom was 1.4. Could be a little bit harder. And I really like that now you can customize all this shit. You can now customize all that. I don't really like that UI jumps around. I think it's dumb. I wonder if we can like quite cheaply change it around. Is there any cheap way to change it around? So essentially here's the parameter name, and maybe we're gonna have a value preview. So if I change value preview, so it's a span. What if I put that span somewhere here, right? And the value input is going to be on the next line, right, in a div. Let's see what's gonna happen. Really? Oh, I forgot the semicolon, sure. Not bad. Now we're talking. So that looks even better in my opinion. So that's something I would like to ship. I would be happy to ship something like this. In fact, all right. So now it doesn't jump around. I really like that. I really like that. So by the way, remember how I was speaking about like security and shit like that, and not using eval for evaluating like expressions inside of the parameters and shit like that? I just realized that I forgot one thing in here. We're using this text as part of the DOM, but I think it's not that bad because we're using them for the inner text. Yeah, that's right. I don't think it's that big of a problem, right? So what we do in here, we just we put it as a string, and string automatically gets converted into the text node. So essentially, if I have a parameter, that basically has something like script alert, right? 1. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem, right? Because that thing is going to be put under the text node. Let me see. So yeah, it's under the text, so it actually doesn't trigger anything. So if you put some sort of a script in here, so it's not that bad, I suppose. It's just the text. It's just the text. So it's kind of funny how it didn't even crash anything, visibly at least. It didn't even throw anything in the console. Right, okay, so you can create a uniform with this name. I mean, it didn't create the uniform with this name, it just tried to query the uniform from the shader, and it probably received nothing, and it just, yeah, silently doesn't do anything. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, that is in fact totally fine. Okay, so to be fair, some of the shaders may not have parameters, but we also put this like params thingy. Maybe I should do something like, maybe I need to remove params from here, right? So the params are going to be part of the params panel, right? So here is that, and it's going to be something like text params. There we go. Is it going to work now? Well, to be fair, one of the things we probably want to do is essentially, okay, if filter params length is greater than 0, right, only then we want to append this thing in there. So it's going to be append child text, and in here we're going to have text params, right? It's going to be params. There we go. Yep. And something broke, probably because we don't have text. Length unspecified. Okay. JavaScript check if object is empty. It probably false the object, right? So so if I do something like node true false, it is true. Okay. You can get the keys, I suppose. Object keys length greater than 0. That means we need to append params in them, and I think it's gonna now. So 939 to filter params defined or null to object. Yeah, some of the, if you don't have params, right? So yeah, I guess we can just do something like this. Okay, makes sense. All right. That's true. So by default, you don't have a parameters, but for something like hard, you're gonna have parameters, and it doesn't fucking work. Nice. Because we don't have text. Okay, so let me see. We need to introduce text. That's for sure. So there is going to be a tag, and we're going to introduce text, and it's going to be just something like this. We return just this thing. Create text node. There we go. And because of this, we can do something like text. Yes. Go away, fucking listen. Alrighty, so is it gonna work? So you don't have params in here, but if you do hard, if you go hard, you have params in here now. And it's kind of weird, not gonna lie. So let me fix that. I'm gonna go to index, params, and this is just a text. And maybe because of that, I want to put a diff in here, and also I want it to be centered, if you know what I mean. I want it to be kind of centered, but I'm not sure. When it was centered, I think it was good. But filter is also not centered, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, params. I think when it was centered, it was good. So, if I do attribute class, I'm gonna put it in here. It's gonna be something like this. And let me see. So it's gonna be hard. And yep, it is working. You know what? I think whatever. We don't need any params. It's just like the problem is gone. Yeah, you just have parameters. I mean, I don't have to explain to the user that this is a parameter. It's actually pretty self-explanatory. This entire stuff is really self-explanatory. I don't have to do that. All right, so it's gonna be zoom. I don't know, maybe zoom should also be 0. Why not allow zoom to be 0 too? Why not? So it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna be like, if it's 0, it's nothing. I mean, yeah, why limit the creativity? It's just like allowed to be like that. Yeah, sure. And if I restart this entire stuff, it's gonna be hard, and it also resets this entire thing. All right, I'm actually super happy with this hard thingy, because I can just ship that. This already looks good. I can just ship this entire thing. Okay, so let's do a committee and maybe then even pushy. So what we were working on here is, we don't even need this thing anymore, I suppose. It's not needed. Essentially, if I refresh this entire stuff, hard is going to work as it is. Oh, and by the way, I think I forgot to check how it is rendered. Right, if I do something like this and then I will try to render this entire stuff, is it going to work? Yeah, it did in fact work. Right, and I can just reduce it down to something like this and then render it one more time. And it seems to be working. Okay, perfect. So maybe there should be also a way to reset this entire thing, but I'm going to create a separate folder to do for that. So params panel. There is no reset to default button in the params panel of a filter. There we go. So this is one thing we want to have. Another thing, we probably need more interesting types for the param filters. To be fair, all of that does not really need a particular issues. Okay, so reset to default is not defined. What else did I want? To be fair, I just straight up forgot what I wanted. I guess that's fine. Really like slow intensity. Alrighty. That's good. Oh yeah, duration. Completely forgot about the duration. So this feature is not shippable because duration, we need to be able to control duration as an expression. Unfortunately, this entire shit is not shippable. And actually allowing expressions in the duration is going to take some time, right? Because you cannot just use eval. It is kind of dangerous. We need to implement like a sandboxed evaluation of some sort. And also you should be able to refer to the parameters to any sort of uniforms. Yeah, you should be able to refer to any sort of uniforms and stuff like that. So, and that's probably what I wanted to create in here. Yes. So let's go to hard. Right, let's go to hard. And let's maybe put some sort of like a comment in here. I don't know. So where is the filters? Filters, filter params do not support expressions in the strings. All right, so this is something that has to be implemented a little bit later. So because duration is not automatically calculated based on these parameters, it's impossible to do it right now. I'm not going to ship this feature. I rather gonna put it under the like feature flag. So essentially by default, I don't want this panel to be shown, right? It's not going to be shown, but you would be able to enable it by enabling like a special flag in the URL, right? You'll be able to do something like, I don't know, beta, right? So something like this, right? Or maybe we're gonna have like specific flags for specific features. I don't know, something like params, right? Or maybe even feature params. Feature params. So, and only then this thing is gonna show up, right? So through that, you basically express your consent that, yeah, you know that this feature is not available, is not finished yet. So, but by default, it's not going to be shown. I think it's a pretty good approach in here. So let's quickly implement that. So let me see. I need to create a separate branch for this entire stuff. So it's going to be more gem and parameter, filter parameters. Okay, so we're working on this thing in here. 27. So it's going to be 27. Implement params panel for filters. There we go. and I'm going to push that right into the repo. So let's actually put it onto the feature flag. So I think I already did something like that in one of my games, right? So here's the game, and it used to be written using HTML5 2D canvas, but then I rewrote it in WebGL. So this is a WebGL version, but you can always actually access it via legacy flag. You can put a legacy flag in here, and this is the legacy version that is slower. Right, but without legacy flag, it uses OpenGL and whatnot. So I want to do the same thing. So I'm going to actually give you the link to the game in here. So here's the description. This is the WE, and here this is the WE source code. So the source code is available on GitHub, of course. All right, here it is. And I'm gonna steal some code from this thing, right? Because I already implemented that before. Alrighty, so what do we got? So basically URL search param has, okay. So this is precisely what we can do in here. Precisely. So can we do it like that? Basically feature params. Feature params. There we go. So just basically at the top. Put it at the top. Maybe it's by default is going to be false. And then window on load, like here, feature params. There we go. So, and how we're going to be using that? Filter selector. Right, here's a filter selector. And when we are basically querying, so we appending the child, but we're only appending the param panel if the feature params is enabled, right? Only then we're doing that. Also, we're removing the child only if the feature is enabled as well, and we're appending this entire stuff only if this entire thing is enabled. So basically, the panel is already there. The panel is already there. Every time you select a filter, it tries to create the panel and stuff like that. But it will be never put into the DOM unless you enable that flag. I wonder if it's going to work, because some things are not really updated if the elements are not part of the DOM. So I'm a little bit worried that maybe it's going to create some problems, but we'll see. We'll test it out. All right, but that looks like a pretty good solution in my opinion. Something is already broken. Yay! I absolutely love it. So assignment to constant variable. Okay, sure. Thank you for warning me about that, at least. I really appreciate that. What about hard? Hard is working, and as you can see, it doesn't have any parameters. Right, now you can do something like feature params. All right, feature params has been enabled, and you go to hard, and now you're able to customize that. Okay, so by default, it is not going to be released yet. This is unfinished feature, it is not released. But if you're watching this video and you know about this feature, you can play with it already. You can beta test it, right? You can just drag these things around and so on and so forth. But you need to basically put this feature parameter in here, right? So, and on the next streams, we're gonna finish off this entire stuff and maybe finally release it. So let me actually see if I didn't break anything. Hopefully I didn't break anything. Come on, come on. All right, looks okay. And let me switch to hard. Okay, where's hard? I probably skipped it already. I don't know what the hell is going on, but sometimes my Chromium just gets stuck or something. I don't understand. Finally it works. Okay, so if I try to render this entire thing, it should be working fine now. Yeah, it is working fine. All right, so I'm super happy that we managed to implement that. Okay. Hide. filter params under the feature flag, right? So we're gonna hide it under the feature flag. So and I'm gonna push that right into the repo. Do we have the pull request? Let's actually quickly create a pull request and snitch up all of the to-dos that needs to be implemented. All right. So what do we have in here? Implement params panel for filters. All right. So it's gonna be like that. We're not closing this thing yet. We're not closing this thing yet. But we also need to report all of these issues. So it's going to be bin snitch report prepend body introduced in what issue it was introduced in? It was introduced in 52. All right, yeah, new buffer place. The params do not support expression in strings, and this one blocks the implementation of the basically blocks releasing this entire feature. Preload all the filters and switch between them without loading and unloading them constantly. Yeah, that would be actually kind of nice. There's no reset to default button in the params panel. Yeah, so it would be also nice. Let's report everything. All right. And let me push everything right into the repo. So we don't have any CI, so I'm going to just merge that, hoping that I didn't break anything. If I broke something, feel free to submit an issue. So I'm going to go to 27, and this one is going to be blocked now. Right, blocked. Why are we referring to this thing? There may be also parameters similar to. Okay, yeah, I see what's going on. Okay, it's like loosely related, but related nonetheless. So blocked by 53, right? 53. There we go. Right, it is blocked by that. Once this thing is implemented, we can finally release this feature and remove the feature flag. All right. Okay. And I also want to assign this thing on me. This is already on me. And I think we're Gucci. I think we are, in fact, very much Tamaguchi. So let's take a look at our current progress. So it's going to be feature params. Here is the feature params, and here's the hard, and you can control these things now if you specify them in the filter definition, right? So let's take a look at hard. So in the filter definition, you have a special field called params, and each param has a name, type, its initial value, min, max, and step, and so on and so forth. So in the future, we're going to actually support these kind of things inside of the strings, and hopefully one day we will be able to actually dump filter definitions as JSON, so we can actually export and import them, and hopefully it's going to be safe enough, so it's not going to embed any elements into the page, and it's not going to try to evaluate any arbitrary JavaScript. We're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. So yeah, but that will require doing a lot of work. So is there anything I wanted to do? I think I wanted to do like a thumbnail before I go, right? So a good YouTube video needs a thumbnail. So I have an idea for a title. So yeah, I need the Zoomer crying meme image. Yeah, this one. I'm gonna show you just a second. Okay. So let me quickly save the image. So I'm gonna save image as Zoomer PNG. All right. So let me quickly load the Zoomer PNG. All right. So, and we're gonna actually zoom. Maybe intensity is gonna be like lower. Maybe amplitude is gonna be actually 0. And So let me see. So essentially this is basically what I want to do. I really like that there's a zoomer like meme in here, and there's also zoom parameter. The intensity of zooming. Yeah, so I guess this is gonna be the roughly our our thumbnail. I don't know. So thanks everyone who's watching right now. I really appreciate it. Check out the description for all of the links of the discussed projects in here. I guess I see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, and we're going to be developing our programming language, right? And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for watching. Love you all. Mwah.